The snow reached up to his knees. The boy, Daniel, crossed the street with bare hands and torn shoes. In the heart of a freezing New York winter, the smell of fresh bread drifted out of the bakery window and shook something deep inside him. His stomach growled loudly. Ever since his mother had passed away and his father died in a factory accident, he had been alone. He was only 12, but the world had already placed its weight on his small shoulders. He slept in shelters at night and spent his days doing anything he could to earn a bite of food, washing dishes, delivering newspapers, cleaning car windows at intersections. Every time he caught his reflection in shop windows, a tiny spark lit up inside him. He wanted to become more than what life had forced him to be. One night, while working at Mario's bakery, the power suddenly went out. Mario shouted, "Damn it, this machine is broken again." Daniel stepped forward, examined the wires, and a moment later the bread machine turned back on. Mario stared in disbelief. "How do you even know how to do that?" Daniel smiled shyly. "I don't know. I've always loved electrical stuff." That night, for the first time, he felt something inside him had value, understanding. A few weeks later, Mario handed him an old laptop that once belonged to his son. "It's yours, kid. Maybe you can make something out of it someday." That night Daniel stayed awake until morning. The shelter's internet was slow, but it didn't matter. On YouTube, he learned how to build electronic boards, how to code simple programs. Every night he typed with freezing hands and half-closed eyes. Days were for work, nights were for learning. Months passed. One day at the bakery, a customer noticed Daniel sketching something in his notebook, a device powered by solar energy that could heat a small oven. "Where'd you get this?" the man asked. "I designed it," Daniel replied. "Someday I want to create a bakery that runs without electricity." The man chuckled, but then his expression turned serious. "My name is Dr. Miles. I'm an engineering professor. Want a chance?" Daniel couldn't believe it. Dr. Miles took him to the university and let him help in the lab. The pay was small, but Daniel breathed differently among the machines and students. His eyes grew brighter every day. In the library, during his breaks, he devoured books, physics, mechanics, renewable energy. Sometimes he fell asleep right there in the corner with a book open on his chest. Dr. Miles told him, "You have an engineer's mind, Daniel, but remember, a mind without persistence is only a dreamer." Daniel took studying seriously. With the help of a charity, he entered high school. Days were for classes, nights were for work. Everything was difficult, but difficulty didn't scare him. He knew every bite of bread came from sweat. Years passed. At 18, he entered university. Alongside his studies, he worked on a project, a portable battery that could be charged entirely by sunlight. With two friends, Jack and Leela, he formed a small team. They worked in a garage borrowed from Mario. At night, the sound of drills and the smell of solder filled the air. When they pitched their idea to an investor, he only laughed. "An orphan kid and two college students. You think you're the next Elon Musk?" Daniel just smiled and said, "Maybe one day you'll hear about us." But a few weeks later, a fire broke out in the garage. Everything they owned was destroyed. Nothing was left. Daniel fell to his knees and sobbed. For the first time in his life, he felt truly hopeless. That night he returned to Mario's bakery. The old man was still there. Mario said, "Remember when you fixed the power here? Nobody believed you could do it then either. But you did. You can do it again, son." Again. Daniel started over. He no longer chased investors. Instead, he created videos online explaining his design. People across the country saw them, and thousands sent small donations to support his project. In 6 months, he built a new version of the solar battery, lighter, cheaper, and far more efficient. When the media heard about it, headlines exploded. "Homeless New York boy invents the solar battery of the future." Major companies reached out, but he chose to build his own brand, SolarRise. They opened a small factory on the outskirts of the city. Dozens of young people like him worked there. Daniel paid fair wages and gave them free training. Every morning before work, he brought them fresh bread. One day a reporter asked, "Why do you still bring bread yourself?" Daniel smiled, "Because everything started with a single loaf." But success wasn't easy. Industrial competitors stole one of his technologies. The stock market dropped. The media called him an inexperienced kid. But he didn't back down. He spent sleepless nights working on a new invention, a machine that could generate energy from both sunlight and wind. Months of failure followed, until one stormy night, the machine finally powered on. A tiny green light blinked. He held his breath, then shouted, "It worked." 3 years later, SolarRise went public. Its stock quadrupled on the first day. Daniel was no longer the poor boy from the streets. He was a man leading thousands. And yet, every night, when he left his tall office building in New York, he still visited the old bakery. Mario was older now, but his smile hadn't changed. Daniel handed him a box. Inside was the deed to a brand new bakery. "For you," he said, "my second father." Mario's eyes filled with tears. "Son, you've become a star." Daniel laughed softly. "No, I'm still just a kid looking for bread. The only difference is now I built my own bakery." Years later, Daniel built a school for children like him, those who came from nothing but had dreams bigger than their circumstances. He named it the Rise Academy, a place for kids who wanted to learn, create, and dream. At the opening ceremony, a reporter asked, "If you could say one sentence to the poor children of the world, what would it be?" Daniel looked at the crowd, smiled, and said, "No one is born hungry just for food. Some are hungry for knowledge, some for building, some for dreaming. Being full isn't just eating, it's understanding." The crowd fell silent, then applause rose like a wave. That night, he looked out from his office window. Snow was falling gently over the city. The smell of bread drifted from the street below. He smiled and whispered in his heart, "Mom, I'm finally full."